So I've been thinking lately about the state of the world and how it appears to have suddenly taken a change in direction. I'm talking about Brexit, Donald Trump and others, and I've come to the conclusion that this is essentially the final death throes of nationalism. Yeah, I know, I can already hear the sound of outraged people typing in the comments, but stick with me here. The first point I want to make is that I see evolution as a universal concept and not just limited to biology. I think humanity in general likes to think that it is beyond evolution, but I think this is just because of our limited view of the definition. Ultimately, it is about survival of the fittest. I may go into this in more detail in future videos with examples and evidence, but for now I will just focus on the aspects that are relevant to this video. Concepts like the free market, open source information, and open communications allows all of humanity unrestricted access and allows the most effective individuals and groups to prosper. This prosperity in turn benefits the global community using these same concepts. Now I understand that these concepts can also destroy those that are less efficient. It is a double-edged sword that can basically harm local growth, but inevitably helps humanity as a whole. It is easy to see the size of human communities is moving towards larger and larger populations as time goes by. Humanity as we know it started as small tribes of people roaming around either killing, trading or merging with each other. This eventually became villages and towns. This in turn became city-states and eventually nations. And over the last few hundred years, these became unions of nations. The Aztecs, Mayans, the United States, European Union, Southeast Asia. Throughout history, there have always been people who wanted to conquer and merge. Not saying that these people were nice. Most of these people did it purely out of self-interest or through some misguided sense of nationalistic pride. It's almost like evolution keeps throwing megalomaniac genes out there. If one of them ends up being in the right place at the right time, the borders expand. That is until they grow beyond their capabilities to manage it. The empires then splinter into nations based on the available communication and transportation at the time. But even when this happened, their ideas remained in all the areas that were under their control.
All right, but apart from the sanitation, the medicine, education, wine, public order, irrigation, roads, a fresh water system and public health, what have the Romans ever done for us?
So it seems to me that there is an emergent property to human evolution that limits the size of a community to the technology available to manage it. Now with the relatively rapid addition of global communication, transportation, information and organisations, geographic borders are starting to become less relevant. And organisations and governments can now manage much larger areas spread throughout the globe. Some of the highest GDP are no longer from nations, they're from companies. And now that the most developed nations are tied to each other through trade, they can't just declare open war on each other anymore. Yeah, there are still a few bastions that are trying to be self-sufficient and make alternatives, but they will always fall behind. Evolution throws out random variations, but the most efficient and fastest to adapt wins. And when you can source your materials from 4 different areas on the globe, and you can pick the best one, you're always going to come out on top above a nation who only has access within its borders. Liberal views allow us to take a chance and rush headlong into the future. Conservative views slam on the brakes so that we don't rush headlong off a cliff. They are both necessary for the growth and survival of our species and have been a part of us since the dawn of time. Generally speaking, older people become more conservative and younger are more liberal. One of the big differences now is that technology is increasing at such a fast rate that we have much larger generation gaps. Previous generations needed religion as the cornerstone of their communities, and their nationalism provided them with a strong sense of identity. As the world became increasingly racially homogenized and technologically advanced, this sense of community is being replaced by social media. Social media allows people to communicate with people of all races, sexuality, religions and political views. Of course, this doesn't mean that everyone uses social media as a platform to spread love and goodwill. For many people, everything is moving much too quickly, and the media is all too eager to spread fear and anger to increase its ad revenue. We currently live in one of the most peaceful times in human history, yet the media takes advantage of everything they can, which increases xenophobia and even causes people to turn on entire races or religions. Fundamentalism and extremism is always harmful, but hitting the wasp nest with a stick obviously isn't working. Another strong factor is our political systems. It seems like the best way to get to the top of the political ladder is to be the best manipulator, smooth talker, backstabber, and liar. Is it just me, or do these traits shout sociopath? It's almost like the skills needed to get to the top are the ones most detrimental to the country itself. But these political systems are inherently tied to nationalism itself, and I believe people are getting tired of voting for who they hate least. So in conclusion, I believe nationalism is becoming less relevant as globalism gains strength through technology, and there is nothing that can stop this eventuality. This is the last push of an older generation using their positions of authority and control of the media to use fear and try and slow this progress. The younger generations lack confidence in an aging and non-relevant political system run by people that they have even less confidence in. But in hindsight, this may be the wake-up call and buy us the time we need to plot our path forward.